Are your team members satisfied and engaged? There's a difference, and it matters. In today's competitive world, building a team culture where satisfaction and engagement work hand in hand is the secret to long-term success. At our training session, we'll show you how to create that culture. Inspired by Jason Kay's groundbreaking leadership framework, this one-day training gives you practical tools to increase employee satisfaction and drive deeper engagement. It's time to rethink your team culture and get results. Seats are limited. Register today for Cultivating a Rainforest Team Culture at www.jasonkay.com. That's www.jasonkae.com.
Thank you for joining us for today's episode of The Real Spill, a podcast where I spill on all things multifamily advocacy and how we as industry professionals can work with our elected officials, stakeholders, and allies to bring about change for the rental housing industry. My guests are subject matter experts whose unique perspectives will help listeners understand how the issues impact them. Let's get into The Real Spill. And welcome to today's episode of The Real Spill here on the Multifamily Media Network. I'm your host, Katie Spillers, and with me today is my friend and colleague, Sam Amato with Loebsack and Brownlee. Welcome, Sam.
Thanks, Katie. Excited to be here. Thank you.
Of course, happy to have you. And before we get started today, would you tell the listeners just what it is that you do for Loebsack and Brownlee?
Absolutely. So I am the Strategic Partnerships Manager for LMB, make lasting relationships, partnerships, and connections throughout all the associations across North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Virginia, and more.
Awesome. Sam's a very busy lady. We often talk on our respective travels. We were each in Georgia and even found ourselves staying at hotels for different reasons.
Literally across the street.
Yes, this past week. So happy to have, sure, you're happy to be back home, but happy to have you here with us today. And today we're talking about a topic that's a little heavy. And so I want to go ahead and change the tone just a little bit and give listeners a chance to scroll on by if the topic of domestic violence and domestic violence awareness is something that could be triggering, as it's a very serious topic, very serious issue impacting our nation, therefore impacting the multifamily industry as a whole. So I want to give that warning there that this is a serious topic we're going to be discussing today, and had Sam on today to discuss this because October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and you're going to see this after October. So this episode won't be aired until November, but domestic violence is an issue that is taking place in our families and communities every single second, every minute, every hour of every day. So it's important that we discuss this, not just in the month of October, but the months of November, December, and so on, and continue the conversation. So Samantha, on average, how many people are impacted by domestic violence?
Whew. Yeah, on average, nearly 20 people per minute are physically abused by an intimate partner in the United States. And I say people because there's no discrimination in that, whether it's gender, sexual orientation, race, it doesn't matter. And to break that down even further, that is 1 in 3 women, 1 in 4 men in the US have experienced some form of domestic violence in their lifetime. To take that a step further, domestic violence isn't just physical. Most people think, domestic violence, there's physical, there's abuse. There are so many other forms of abuse, whether it's emotional, financial, sexual and reproductive, digital, psychological, and coercive control. So there's so many different forms that victims and survivors can experience outside of just the physical abuse. And continue the conversation and take it even more into statistics. Survivors have 3 times more likely to engage in self-harm, anxiety disorders. They're 4 times more likely to attempt suicide, and they're 6 times more likely to have a substance or an abuse disorder. And all that to say is there's many people have been affected, are affected, or going through some type of domestic violence situation. And it's likely that everybody knows somebody who is in a situation or who has been in a situation. And we need to continue the conversation and bring awareness outside of our bubble, outside of our community, and across the state.
Those are quite astounding numbers there. And just from hearing that, we have members of all affiliates that are seeing this. We have clients, with our firm who come to us and look to us as a firm, knowing that we are offering education classes every year. Do you want to talk a little bit about the education classes?
Yeah, thank you. So our firm, in October, we have domestic violence awareness classes specifically at the local apartment associations to educate members on how to be aware, how to spot domestic violence in their communities, what they can do legally as property managers, assistant managers, on-site team members, and the direction they need to go legally in those situations, and how to assist those victims moving forward and the resources that they have available to them that they may not know.
Yeah, because we're not trained on this. We both come from the world of on-site property management, and this isn't a class that the property management companies are going through. It's not part of your new hire orientation or onboarding. And if it weren't for the firm, I wouldn't have known when it happened at properties or the property I last managed. I wouldn't have known what to do, because you've got a lease agreement. You have two people. One's the perpetrator, the other has been impacted by this, and then you have neighbors impacted. And so many states don't have specific laws and guidelines, and having attorneys that are licensed to practice in North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Virginia, soon to be Tennessee. It's important to continue these conversations in a classroom setting, because it's filling a void that's not happening on site.
Absolutely. And, as those property managers and team members on site, when you hear of a situation regarding a resident, no matter what it is, your internal instinct is, for me, you want to step in and you want to help and you want to intervene in some way, but that's not always the safest route to take or the best legal route to take in some instances. So that education course that we offer at LMB is top notch and can guide property managers and team members the right direction.
For sure. And having state-specific information is vital too. And in the state of South Carolina, we have VAWA, which is the Violence Against Women's Act, but it's not for conventional properties. It's only for your affordable communities, certain types of affordable communities. So what we're trying to do in the state of South Carolina is get the Domestic Violence in Rental Properties Act passed. And this past year, we came so close. For those who don't know, I'm chair of the South Carolina Apartment Association's Advocacy and Legislative Committee. The committee has not even been in existence for 2 years yet. So as we were looking at our priorities and going through the massive amount of bills filed in South Carolina, we saw one. So I had our attorneys take a look at it, had some attorneys from North Carolina, NA lease attorneys, as well as our lobbyists, and we've added some language, and we almost got it passed this year. So timing of us recording today is that the South Carolina General Assembly will be back in session soon, and pre-filing will start. And I'm thinking it's going to get a new bill number, but it was House Bill 4158 in the last 2 years of the South Carolina General Assembly. So we're going to have that reintroduced. And if you're in this area, you do business in this area, would certainly ask that you reach out to your legislator. Likely going to introduce it in the Senate. We have a friend of the industry who's going to do that for us, and hopefully get it past the finish line this year. There was a concern with what are called the red flag laws, which is where if someone is charged with a violent crime, which is oftentimes the case with domestic violence, they lose their right to bear arms. So we're working through that, and certainly appreciate our attorney here in South Carolina who does a lot of the classes, Michael Harrington, for adding that to his slides this year.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I can't wait for that to pass and keep going.
For sure, for sure. And one way that we help too, other than education, is raising funds, and that's through a campaign that is huge. I knew about it before I was with the firm. I know you did too. It's called Purple Out, and there's a lot that goes into Purple Out. Can you give us an overview, planning, execution?
Absolutely. You are hot on these questions today, and I love it. Yes, there's big shout out to Cole and Bailey. First of all, Bailey Larkin and Cole Lowry, they are the chairs for our Purple Out committee. And a lot of hard work, heart, and dedication has been poured into this campaign throughout the year. It takes nearly a year to plan this entire campaign. They started this back in January of 2024, and to see it all the way through to fruition, there's conversations in between, weekly, monthly, as time gets closer to October and the launch of the campaign. But this year we decided to go with an auction as well as just general funds and raising money. We have 3 shelters across North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia that we are raising funds for specifically. And Bailey, huge kudos to Bailey. She reached out to nearly 800 large and local companies for auction donations. Giving and bringing awareness to domestic violence and education across the communities is a feat in its own. That's a huge milestone, just bringing awareness outside of our normal group of people or in the industry, so to speak. So that was a huge testimony. And like I said, all the money raised goes directly to those local shelters. Last year, we raised over $4,500. And this year to date, we're almost at $7,000 collectively. So huge undertaking. I can't give them enough credit and enough kudos. For the past, what has it been? 11, 10 months at this point, hard work has been poured into this in planning.
Yeah, and with Cole and the graphics that he made.
Oh, yes. The graphics for our social media campaigns, those are posted daily with so much information in those regarding just the statistics and information and the links to our Give Butter campaign, the links to the shelters, how you can give and donate. So there's so much work and effort poured into this. Absolutely.
Yeah. And Samantha and I are what we call brand ambassadors for our firm. So when you see us posting the same or similar content throughout the weeks, it's because the graphics that Cole has made that have been vetted through our digital media branding manager, Liz, and it's a collective effort. But this campaign means so much personally to so many of us because of those statistics. It tells you there that all of us have a dog in the fight there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Each and every one of us. And alongside the auction for general fundraising, the amount that we raised last year versus this year just speaks to the hard work and dedication that goes into this campaign as a whole. And although October is over, there's still opportunity to give to these campaigns. I know in South Carolina, it's my sister's house. Remind me for North Carolina and Georgia.
Absolutely. So for North Carolina, it's Safe Alliance. And then in Georgia, it's called PADV.
And one of the most fun things that surrounds the Purple Out campaign are our themed Fridays.
Yes. Yes, they are so fun. So we've had luau theme. We've had extreme purple out. There was a 70s disco fever. Everybody throughout the offices in our firm just dresses up in their best purple theme. We take pictures. We share it across social media, use our hashtags, LB Purple Out, hashtag Purple Out, LB Against Stevie, all those hashtags and a few more in between. Those come through social media. They come through our email, and it's fun to see our team members, get excited for a great cause and to continue to spread awareness outside. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, I don't know of another company in general that goes all out the way the firm of LMB has consistently, as long as I can remember from being on site.
I know. I look back to my tenure on site, and this has always been a thing, and we continue to make it reoccurring every year because we are so passionate about it. And it affects, like I said, 20 people per minute. We need to bring awareness to it. We have to.
Yeah. I was in the gym the other day and there was a commercial on for a shelter, and it mentioned that in the United States as a whole, that a woman who's expecting, in the commercial, actually it wasn't a commercial, it was one of those podcasts I listened to in the mornings at the gym. And this one, I knew it was so sad, but I knew what happened. It was a young lady and she was expecting, and in the back of my head, because I'd heard the statistic, I already knew how this podcast was going to play out. It was her partner who killed her. That in America, you're more likely as a expectant mom to lose your life to your partner than any other medical complication that could arise during pregnancy. And we've got to do better.
Yeah, absolutely.
And through campaigns like this, listeners can become more aware of how they can help, because not everyone is able to get up and give a testimony or go to a breakfast or attend a in her shoes walk or walk a mile in her shoes, which we've had members of our firm, both male and female, don their heels and walk a mile. They can still give to the campaigns financially if they're not able to go in person. So again, that was Safe Alliance in North Carolina, my sister's house in South Carolina, and then PADV in Georgia.
Yep.
And does our firm have another place that they could go, like on our website? Their first client information. Some things are behind a password if they're a client, and some things are more public facing.
Yeah, so it doesn't live behind the scenes, but we do have a campaign on Give Butter, and we can drop that link in there for that campaign that will reach all 3 different shelters.
Awesome. Well, Sam, it's been amazing talking to you today. Kind of a short and sweet, so to speak, episode on the best ways to help the victims of domestic violence in North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia. And of course, if you're in other states, of course, listeners are from all over the United States, encourage you to look up what shelters are available in your area too, and to reach out. And if you're a current client and you want more information specifically, reach out to the attorney who normally handles your cases to ask if you ever have a situation, because of course this is information, not advice. Sam nor I are attorneys. We are retired property managers, basically. But it would never be the intention to evict a victim. So more information when you have a noise complaint that you don't quite know exactly how to handle. And don't take for granted, because relationships look all different ways, that just because it's same sex, you may think roommate, but it could be a domestic violence situation. So like Sam said, this surpasses all nationalities, all races, genders, colors, you name it. So want to make sure that you're providing more information than less in those situations, so that you don't accidentally find yourself in a legal situation that is not good for optics, not good for the victim. So getting that information to the attorneys that represent is going to be key there. So don't ever hesitate, if you're a client, to pick up the phone and call or send an email, because it's our intention to help and not to hurt and hinder in those situations.
Absolutely. And one thing I wanted to point out, you made a very good point as far as not everybody can go and do and volunteer or walk a mile. Some people's story's not yet over. They're still working through that, and funds raised go directly towards those domestic violence shelters. And they provide victims and survivors, more importantly, with access to safe emergency shelters, beds, court assistance programs, trauma resources, counseling for survivors, their children, as well as shelter expansions, resources, playgrounds, so much more.
Yeah, and one thing we talked about sharing before is the general public may not be aware of a certain sign that someone can give that they are in a situation that's not safe for them and they need help. So if someone does this sign, and Sam and I'll both show you guys what this is in public, don't automatically think that they're doing something strange or odd, or it's actually a call for help. And that's if they put their hand up, thumb over like this. And it can even be from behind if they're walking or if you're on an airplane. So important to look out for that sign too, and to call 911 for help for this person discreetly in that situation. Or if you're in a store, maybe go up to the front desk and say, hey, I've just seen this sign and I'm aware of what this is. We need to get this customer some help.
Absolutely. And that's a great point. Being more cognizant and aware of what's going on. Because again, those stats speak for themselves. 20 people every minute, 1 in 3 women, 1 in 4 men. And if that simple sign, you're not paying attention, that person needs help. And you can step in appropriately, speak to somebody at the front desk and say, hey, this is off. Absolutely. Good points.
Well, any final words for us today, Sam, before I let you go throughout your day?
I just want to say thank you for this opportunity. And listeners, if you are interested in learning more or how to help survivors, how to get involved, if you're interested in supporting a local shelter near you, we encourage you, find an organization that best aligns with your personal or your company goals and missions. Collaborate with your friends, family, coworkers, and determine whether you want to raise money, donate time, what that looks like for you, and get plugged in and bring awareness to this cause, because it's definitely needed and we need to keep making waves.
We sure do. And thank you again, Sam. I can't wait to see those final totals as we end. Of course, hopefully we'll still be able to get some donations through bringing awareness through this podcast episode. And 2025 is going to be even bigger. So
absolutely. Here before you know it. Absolutely.
Yep. Cole and Bailey are going to be right back at it. And again, special shout out to them for being the amazing chairs of this committee. They have taken it and run like never before. And the industry is going to be made better because of the education and the resources provided as a result.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
And thank you for joining us for this episode of The Real Spill here on the Multifamily Media Network. Till next time.